We're already recording, so I'm going to welcome our viewers. I'm with Steve and Linda Green, the publishers of and creators of PMQ Pizza Magazine. Many of you who are watching are already subscribers and receive it. Many of you, if you're not in the pizza trade, may not know about it. But this is one of the Bibles of the pizza industry. It's an important journal. Still comes out quarterly as a printed.
No.
Well, it was a quarterly when we started, and then it went to 6 issues, and then it went to 9 issues, and it's been at 10 issues a year.
10 issues.
So we consider it a monthly since 200010.
Yeah,
I always think of PMQ as Pizza Marketing Quarterly, so in my mind it's still quarterly.
It's our acronym.
I was wondering how come I'm getting so many more issues.
Right. Well,
You're popular.
We figured if it was good enough for GQ, why can't PMQ get away with it? But most people think they'll say, "Oh, Pizza Magazine Quarterly," and I think, no, that's not it.
Right.
Branding, if we didn't have PMQ.com, then we would have changed our name before. But it's such a great website that we just go with PMQ and suffer the consequences.
And in addition to the printed magazine, which I'm still stuck, I much prefer reading in paper than on digital. But but you have a number of different digital platforms also that you're communicating with your followers on, right?
We do. We've never been more connected to the pizza industry. It's really wonderful. Over the last 20 years, we've seen the evolution from just a print magazine to our think tank, where there's 5,000 people that are connected online, which is a laboratory for us and a place for us to really witness firsthand the industry in action. And then we have video, and we have online ordering. There's been so much technology, but every time there's been a boost in technology, there's been a new way to communicate with our readers. So we're just fully connected, locked and loaded now. And we're just really happy to be where we are. And most people think, oh, you're a magazine, you're still a magazine. And we think, not really. We're an audience, and this is like the right leg of our audience, and the digital is the left leg.
Yeah.
And you move along with both of those things. And it's really a wonderful time to be in a B2B, but it's always wonderful to be in pizza. So we've got the best of both worlds.
And you also do a whole bunch of video work too. You interview people and video archives like we're doing, kind of.
Yeah.
I've done one with Brian with your guy, and I don't know how it goes out as its own thing. It's available to subscribers, digitally mainly, and then you also in the print journal you see sort of highlights of things that you can get online if you want to follow those prompts. So it's a lot of ways to connect, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, again, for people that don't know the whole story, or maybe are even subscribers but didn't know where this all started and came from, can you kind of give us a little bit of the backstory of the creation of PMQ?
Linda, do you want to take over?
Or
do you want to give your angle?
I could start it, and you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve has a history of being in pizza. He used to be a Domino's franchisee. If you don't know his history a little bit, but we always and me being Italian, I always loved pizza. My father made pizza when I was a little girl, and had a pizzeria in the 50s in San Jose, California. Mm-hmm. So I grew up loving pizza. So when my husband was interested in doing a Domino's in the 80s, I was very excited because Domino's was an up-and-coming chain back then.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that you guys had that Domino's connection. So that's
that was our training.
Right.
That was our training ground. And Domino's is a fantastic chain to learn. And Steve became their marketing director. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, he loved all the marketing aspects of pizza. That was one of the things. Right. And then after being with Domino's for how many years did we work with Domino's?
Not very long. I was there for 3 years, and during that time, I built 2 stores in Marin County, California.
Really?
The first Domino's there was in San Rafael, and then another one in Terra Linda, and then I sold those back to Domino's because they said, well, you can have Buffalo, New York, the whole city. And I thought, Wow, that sounds great.
That sounds exciting.
You know, so I sold those.
If you're willing to trade San Rafael and Marin County for Buffalo, yeah.
Well, you know, I was just looking for the opportunity.
Yeah.
But I sure learned a lot when I went to Buffalo.
Buffalo was cold.
It's cold, but I actually like Buffalo. I've been there a number of times, and I like it as a city. It's got so much character.
But it's got.
You're right.
It's got character. People are so friendly. It's
Great
really
food.
a hidden gem. But what happened to me is that I was getting like I was running. Well, I realized that I was running like a 22% food cost in San Rafael, and I was running like a 36% food cost in Buffalo right away because the prices were so low, and I just didn't change anything, but the pizzas were so good. That's when I discovered that you know the joy of independent pizza.
Yeah. Buffalo had so many independents. You know, there's a giant Italian community there in Buffalo, New York, and so we had to compete with a lot of just really good mom and pops, and that was challenging. But we learned from it.
Yeah.
You know?
So the big thing that I learned in Buffalo, though, is that's when it was so competitive, I said, I can't just do the regular kind of grand openings. I used to open up stores for Domino's before I was a franchisee and realized, you know what, I should be a franchisee because that's where the money is. I was looking at all the people that I was helping and they were making the money. So I quit the job that I did have and did that. But so I really knew how to open up stores. And, but when I went to Buffalo, I did the same thing that I had done in the South and in California, helping other people open stores. And I just didn't have the impact when I went to Buffalo. I bought an existing store that had already been there for 10 years. It was at Amherst. It was serving the students at SUNY. And so it had potential, but I had to figure out how to sell pizza in a super competitive environment. And that's when I had a computer and I started putting in all my deliveries and started treating my non-customers differently than my customers. And I created a database marketing. I didn't know it was database marketing at the time. But
you're ahead of the curve on that one.
I was. And what I ended up doing is creating a algorithm that helped determine, just based on a monthly export of anybody's database, regardless of what kind of system they had. I created an algorithm that looked back 3 months and classified customers as either great customers, exiting customers, non-customers. And then I was able to create a marketing company called Greenmail. And in the next 3 years, I had 300 Domino's pizza stores connected to my system. And we started doing all sorts of mailings and door hanging strategies using digital marketing. And that has become what today is now just a pregnant opportunity, I believe, where we are now. So everything seems to be coming together. And I think the pizza industry is really positioned in the right place right now if we use the right strategy.
That's interesting because, you know, a lot of students will approach me and ask for advice. They say they really want to get into the management side of having a restaurant or whatever, because I'm getting culinary students and baking students. And a lot of times when they're starting out, I'll say, well, you know, they'll say, where can I get some experience? And I say, have you ever worked at like a McDonald's or a Burger King? If you want to get some great experience, you know, go to a place like that, because you can learn a lot in a short amount of time. And they kind of like scoff at first, but but those who have worked at the fast food places or the large successful companies, they come back with a wealth of knowledge that way, and they can apply it when they go into the independent life.
As I look back on it, that was really a great experience for me, having learned from Domino's, because I didn't have to worry at all about the pizza itself. It was just about assembling pizzas, delivering pizzas, making customers happy.
Yeah.
And then at some point you get into the experimental joy of creating the ideal pizza and all that. And that is the realm of the independents. But that's the exact advice that I give people: is get a job at a McDonald's or get a job at a pizzeria for sure.
Yeah, pizzeria.
To see whether you have the physical and mental toughness.
That's right. And if it
Put
fits,
yourself into an environment that you're probably not really envisioning correctly if you think this is just going to be a lot of fun. I know I had an MBA when I started off at Domino's, and I quickly realized my MBA has no value.
Yeah.
I got to figure out how to work with people
Yeah.
at a blue collar level.
Yeah.
And that,
Theoretical is very different from real world, huh?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, but look, before we leave Domino's, because do you still have connections and contacts in the Domino's world? Because that company has gone through so many, iterations over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I have some very close friends that are Domino's franchisees that I still keep in contact with and call upon favors for when I need them. And yeah.
And the reason I'm asking is because, I've noticed that I think Domino's in particular, of all the sort of large companies, seems to have really been keeping track and tracking what's going on in the independent movement and trying to learn at the pizza side, how to apply some of those techniques and skills that has raised the game of pizza overall, which you chart in PMQ. You really, showcase a lot of the independents. But I see that, I've been impressed with the improvement and quality of Domino's in particular, of all those companies in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I just heard from somebody that was recently at Domino's in Ann Arbor, and they said that like it's really two buildings. That you've got one on the left, and there's like 200 IT people in it, and then you've got the regular headquarters.
Wow.
And so there's so much on the leading edge of the industry.
Sorry, I think that is my own phone. Believe it or not, I don't know how to turn off the sound of my phone. So I'm going to decline that call. Sorry about that interruption.
Okay.
This is the Zoom world we live in right now.
Yeah.
It's a whole new technology for me.
Yeah, that sounded like my.
I thought it was my phone.
Right.
Nobody usually ever calls me unless I'm on the air.
Yeah.
But what's cool about Domino's, I just want to interject, is their technology. One of the things that I thought was that they did early on is have a really cool online ordering app. They made it fun. They put music to it, and then they showed how long it was going to take to get your pizza, and they made it a fun little app. And then and of course they have it on your phone now, and they like Steve was saying, they got all their technology down. So when this pandemic hit, they already had everything in place for online ordering, and even they have something that's called Fast Pass, where you just put all your stuff in, and then they call your name when you walk up. You just got to push a button. So so there's no touching and everything. They did this before the pandemic, so they were all ready, set, go when this hit.
And in some ways now everybody has has followed that out of necessity, but they had the bandwidth to be able to kind of get that going early and maybe create a template for others to follow, which is, I think it's an interesting thing because, there's a tendency, I think, between the independents and the franchise companies, to kind of view them as like two separate categories as opposed to one big giant pizza community, and almost like there's a little bit of a denigration of, okay, that's fast food, that's Pizza Hut, that's and yet. The fact that a Domino's, and I think also you could say that is probably true for Pizza Hut and the other large chains, the Papa John's, that they're raising their game, and which means that the independents have to raise their game.
Exactly.
And in a sense, everybody's learning from each other. It's not really two entities. It's one pizza world, and it's just scale after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important for the independents to be online. It's just, and Steve's been preaching that for the last, how many years, that the independents need to
Since
have.
before the magazine started.
Yeah.
97.
Yeah.
An online presence. Yeah. Well, that's interesting how prescient that was, because you were seeing it now with Instagrams and Facebooks and all, how every independent now has their outreach that way.
Yeah, you have to treat people, you have to communicate with them as clearly as you can, and in a lot, it has to do with their individual profile. How do they communicate with the world? So there's all sorts of ways to intercept consumers, and you know, direct mail, and it used to be, that's how we used to do things in the past. But the principles are the same. You just have multiple ways to reach customers, and you're always on the march trying to intercept consumers and then lead them towards a decision. But
exactly, and the fact that, you know, that PMQ is pizza marketing is to me is so important, because, you know, everyone who has an independent operation or a franchise, everyone has an operation that has product. But I always tell people, product is only 10% of your business. Right. Marketing is like 90% of your
That's what Stephen. That's what Stephen always.
But that 90% doesn't even work if you have a bad product.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
you gotta have
it's like the good product is the entry point. You got to have that to get in the game, and then you got to know how to sell it and find customers.
Right. You know, so, that if you have a bad product, though, marketing can accelerate your demise. You know.
That's true. Better start with a good product. It's always good to have a good product first, and especially now when there's so much choice. You know, in the pizza sector, there's so many styles, so many ways of doing it. That you don't have a chance if you don't have a decent product. And I think maybe you could say that the larger companies, and even the frozen pizza category, you know, has recognized that the product's got to keep up with the new bars that are being established by some of the you know, pizza artisans that are out. So, so in other words, we can learn from each other.
Exactly. We can. And I've always admired you because you understand food, and I understand how to sell food, but you wouldn't want me to cook. You wouldn't. I don't. My standards for pizza are so low that you know, I'm impressed with average pizza. You know, I'm a sucker. I never met a pizza I didn't like. So.
That's one of the cool things about pizza, is that it works even at any level.
Right.
But yeah, so if I had my operation, I'd want you to be my marketing director, maybe not my head pizzaiolo.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the deal. I'll market, you cook.
Yeah.
Or you in your laboratory, you can create a cook. You've created so many great people.
Well, you know, we first all met, I think, in person. The first time was in New York. At one of the pizza shows you put on there.
2004,
This is probably, like 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was really, I had just written my first pizza book, American Pie. And so I was new to the whole pizza community, and I got to meet, you know, in one gathering, you know, a lot of people began to grow my network within the pizza world, which is, and so even though my primary work then was bread, my focus was bread, I realized bread and pizza are really all just subsets of the same, you know, it's all subset of bread. And I always define pizza as dough with something on it, and a sandwich as dough with something in it. And
very good.
And so it worked for me, because I, you know, and the thing I realized, and a lot of pizza makers I think realized, who had come in through the pizza side but not the bread side, was that the dough itself is bread dough. And if they're gonna have a great pizza, they need to have a great dough.
Right.
And so all these things were like, it sounds like, you know, a no-brainer now, but back then a lot of those were kind of revolutionary ideas.
Yeah.
And you guys have been able to chart that. You've been, you know, tracking it, writing about it, showcasing some of the classic places, as well as the newcomers in the game. What are some of the things that you've seen during this period? By the way, when did PMQ actually launch? And so how long?
October of 1997.
Sure, our first cover.
So,
yeah, let's see.
The first cover?
About 23 years.
That one right there.
This is it. Here it is.
Wow. First issue?
Yeah, that's the first issue, October of 1997.
Interesting how similar that looks to the more recent issue.
Yeah, a little different.
That's cool. That's amazing.
It was all about selling pizza, all about you know. So now we're about how to be successful in the pizza industry. But,
really, that's the mission of the journal, is essentially success. How to be successful. If you're in the business, then how to be successful in the business.
Right. In marketing, you know, is the true marketing, the 4 P's of marketing. Product is the first one that they talk about, and then product, place, and promotion. So they all go together.
That's what fueled our magazine from the very beginning, was marketing. Stephen really felt like no one was advising any of these pizza operators. You know, as you know, we have one competitor which was really addressing at that time any marketing. I mean, so we really saw a need that's why we became Pizza Marketing Quarterly. We really want to be a marketing guide.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were doing the recipes and doing the equipment and so forth, but no one was handling how to do direct mail, how to do database marketing. And Stephen, with some of his educations from Domino's and from school, learned that marketing was so important. So did
you find back then when you launched that the appeal of this, especially understanding the digital, was really mainly towards the larger companies, or did you get resistance and pushback from the independents who kind of felt like, I've got my little corner of the universe and I don't need all that? Or did they get it right away?
No, I would say that there's 10% of the people immediately got it and started. I think that's how it was in Domino's too. About 10% of the people really got it and started doing some really successful things. With the program I started, Domino's in the 1980, I had worked with guys that helped me open my stores, and I would help them with marketing. They helped me when I opened my first store in San Rafael, and they all showed up, and it was very good. But we had really killed it. Some of these Domino's pizza stores, especially in Southern California, where marketing was pretty tough, we figured out, you got these massive territories of 30, 40,000 homes that you've got a pizza store in. And as soon as we started direct mailing to all these people and doing strategic door hanging strategies, and we did a lot of measuring, we did A/B testing, we figured out what messages worked best. And I don't know how many close friends that I had that franchised at the same time I did. I worked with them and pumped their sales up. And when they sold them, they made millions of dollars. They were money machines.
Yeah. I guess people don't realize that have not franchised before, don't understand that owning a franchise doesn't mean that the parent company does all the work for you. You own your own business, and you have to do your own marketing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are really equally at the microscopic level. These are entrepreneurs that are out there defending their territories. They've all got their farmland.
They're unique areas,
and they have to work. They have to make it work in their area.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the demographics are. Once you got your area, that's where you're going to do the fight, and you have to adapt to your area. And that's what's so great about independents, is that they have the ability to match and understand and use localness is their secret weapon. Whereas Domino's was an independent that started off doing very good in their local market, and they were serving their local market really good. But at some point, they standardized, and then they became the same in a very same all over. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't necessarily match all of it. It doesn't mean that they don't have a good pizza. They have a great pizza. It was an award-winning pizza for independents at some point. But the whole idea is that Domino's is in your area. If you're worried about Domino's, then just remember what makes you different is that you can be different than Domino's. Yeah. They're going to be Domino's, so don't try to match them. Mm-hmm. Try to outsmart them in the local market with your individuality.
Yeah, but remembering that it's all about marketing there. It's, once you've got your product, then it's all about how you communicate to your
right.
customer.
In marketing, in its root is about adjusting your product. So that's where people like you come in, and independents can really create word of mouth fame locally by having really the kind of food that people want to brag about and get the word. So that's where you need these different tweaks of the food, which is not my area.
Yeah.
Well, I want to explore this more and also talk a little bit more about where you see the future of pizza going as well, since you guys have been sitting, right there in the catbird seat for all these years and watching these trends. But we're coming to the end of this episode. So what we're going to do is ask you if you could come back for a second episode, and we'll continue the conversation with Steve and Linda Green, the publishers and creators of PMQ. Of course, on the cover it says PMQ Pizza Magazine, but it's more than just the magazine, as we've been hearing. And I'd love to explore again some of these differences between the sort of the franchise model versus the independent model, and where they're the same, where they're different, and how independents can learn from the big franchises and what franchises are learning from the independents.
Yep.
So we'll be back on the next episode of Pizza Talk with Steve and Linda, and thank you for being here for this first part, and we'll see you on the next episode.
You're very welcome, Peter. Thank you for letting us on. Well,
we're here with Steve and Linda Green, the founders and publishers of PMQ Pizza Magazine and the entire pizza, what would you call the PMQ media empire now, I would say. And like you said, in our last episode, for those who are just joining us, we talked a lot about the origins of it and a little bit of how they got into this, coming in through the Domino's ramp, so this, in a sense, the on-ramp of Domino's, which is still, I would say, in this day, as maybe, and I'm not sure if I'm charting it correctly, but in my mind, is now the dominant brand. Is it still sort of the dominant of the franchise brands?
Yes, it is. In fact, just last year, they finished their 40, 50-year march to first place against Pizza Hut.
It's been like this for a long time.
Yeah.
But they've been showing signs of really hitting it out of the park for the last 6 or 7 years.
Well, since we're talking about marketing, as sort of the focus, what is it, do you think, that allowed them to finally surpass Pizza? But also, what is it that has allowed all of those companies to stay relevant and dominant in their own ways in terms of controlling the industry? Because we tend to think about pizza independence on our interviews here, but really I would think that the predominance of pizza that's sold is coming to the home user through various pizza chains or franchises.
Yeah, well, that's part of the evolution of I know that we did our first story in 2008 where we paid tribute to Papa John's because they were the first pizzeria or pizza brand to do $1 billion.
With
online, 2008 with online ordering.
With online
so everything really is.
We got the cover here. Yeah, Steve really saw that whole online ordering really gave these franchises an advantage, and Papa John's was one of the early pioneers.
Interesting.
Domino's caught on right away. Domino's, they got it, but we did a cover story in 2008, and people really didn't hear about online ordering.
There you go.
Yeah. So we did that.
Yeah, 2008, $1 billion.
Wow.
That was Papa John.
And it was what does Papa John's know that you don't?
Exactly, that's the question. Yeah.
Right, and that's your question now.
Oh, I thought that was the one with the girl on.
That was 12 years ago that you ran that cover, with the notorious John on the cover, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, that was actually their IT director.
That was?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have we never did have John Schnatter on our which I don't know. We just never did.
But we had pictures of.
I think we always thought ourselves as being the independent magazine. So, but we've had references to Pizza Hut on there.
But so what did they know? Elaborate. What did they know that then Domino's followed and everybody else has learned since?
Well, I think the thing is that their trick to getting a disproportionate amount of business is their national platform and in online ordering. Yeah. Simply digital. They could win the digital battles. When you think about it, today there are 13 brands. The top 13 brands of pizza sell 23 billion of the 44 billion. They sell half the pizza.
Wow.
Leaving the other half to about 34,000 individual brands, be it one unit or 100 units.
Yeah.
There's that group. So
yeah, they're dividing up the rest of the pie.
You can't have 34,000 apps on your phone, but you can have Domino's, Papa John's. So they stick out. So their strategy is to get people to buy by brand first. If you think Domino's, then, or if you think, how am I going to order a pizza the way I want to order it, which is the first step of the process, then you shortcut all the other thinking and just say, well, here's my Domino's app. Now what are my choices? Mm-hmm. So what I believe what independents need to do is have an equivalent place where people can say, okay, well, I've got my 3 or 4 apps that I use, but what if I'm interested in independence?
Yeah.
And then the independents, these are 34,000 different companies that have 34,000 different menus, that have different locations, that have libraries, and just tons of digital information that's out there scattered, diffused all over the internet, that if it were accessible and more visible to the consumers, then I believe at that point, independents could really make a comeback. I think independents could take more than their disproportionate half.
Instead of their 48%, they could tip it back over.
Right.
With technology.
With technology and marketing. It's marketing and technology together that needs to happen.
And do you see that happening now? Because, you know, say an independent has 2 or 3 local shops, they only really have to be worried about that territory right there. They don't have to worry about the rest of the country.
Right.
They need to dominate that territory. So how do they, and how do they grab that by doing the same thing that Domino's and Papa John's has done, right?
Principally the same thing. They need to become more accessible, more visible, so that it's interesting when you survey people, they actually enjoy ordering pizza, whereas before it was kind of a negative, you know, having to go through the hassle, am I going to get a busy call and all that stuff. So people, that's part of the restaurant experience now in the digital millennial world.
Yes. And that's the thing, that's a real paradigm shift, because the digital, the people are comfortable now with the digital tools.
Right.
They're comfortable.
People of my generation we're still fumbling with them to some extent. But if, you know, if I'm having a problem, I just grab a teenager and say, tell me how to do this.
Exactly.
And they know how. So that's been a real game changer for everybody. And it looks like, you know, from what you're saying now, the independents are adapting or adopting that technology in the same way that the larger companies were ahead of them. So,
they're adopting and they're adapting. And I think in the long run, this is nothing but good news. The COVID-19 sort of caught everybody off guard in that the independents are adapting. We've done a survey. We just completed one a couple of weeks ago. We got 500 responses in like 48 hours of people. And if you go to pizzaresearch.com, that's a backdoor entrance to our site that will tell you about the survey and some of the conclusions from that survey. I just wanted to get that in. So
pizzaresearch.com, for those who are watching, that's your way to get access to the same research.
Right.
You don't wait for the issue to come out, right?
Well, that's true.
So what has that research told us? What are we learning from that?
Well, the research, I mean, it's good news in that people are adapting to the COVID-19. We asked people, what are they doing? And it turned out that most people that are open now have adopted the 6 or 7 most important things to do to make people feel comfortable. That seems to be changing day to day.
Yeah.
So, but the good news is that there's more people. The people that are doing the best are using digital. I mean, it's absolutely digitally related.
Yeah.
Telephone is still more popular among independents, but they're open and they're using other digital sources. And the people that have done the best, the people that report having sales increases during COVID, if you look at them separately, they're using a combination. They usually have their own website, and they use some of the third-party services as well as a way to get customers. And those people seem to be doing the best.
You know, it's hard for me to be totally objective about this because I've been so focused on talking to pizza operators for the last few weeks. But it seems to me that the pizza community pivoted more successfully than almost any other sector of the
You're
food
right.
service industry.
Mhm.
Would you say you've seen that as well?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yeah, I'm amazed. I'm amazed.
Yeah.
We've got a gritty industry. They're very adaptable. They're used to making things work with nothing, and I've been amazed. It's a great what an industry we're in.
I guess, I mean, I don't know if you call this a silver lining or not, but of the COVID, but is that everybody was inching towards making these sort of changes in their marketing technologies and everything else,
Yes.
and then they were forced to suddenly
Yes.
fast track everything
Yeah.
and kind of hyperlink over to to
Right.
the new model.
I think that's a plus, and I think that's a good thing for independents.
Mhm.
But temporarily, there is a price that we're paying, and that the chains are making more progress than we are. But really, if you look at it from a bottom line point of view, what difference does it make? As long as we're doing better,
Everyone's
or
doing
independents are doing better, everybody's doing well now.
Everybody's doing well. Yeah.
But in the future, we need to realize that very soon half of our business is going to come from digital, and we need to be there. And this is the time for independents to shine, because once they match the digital advantage that the chains have, then the surveys show that people want authentic pizza, local pizza, their tastes. They want variety. They want diversity. They want to choose on the long continuum of pizza variety. And the chains have consistency, but they don't have variety. The real change, if you want the best pizza in the world and you have 34,000 brands to pick from, it's probably not going to be mathematically going to be in the top 13. The best pizza for you, according to your taste, is going to be found in the adventurous rainforest of pizza, which is the independent sector.
That's interesting, because in this sort of tug of war for the pieces of the pie, and as you said,
right,
52% of the pizza is going out through the top 13 companies, and 48% is going out through the thousands of independents. But there's always going to be this tug of war, and it seems like part of that tug of war is that the independents are learning from the big companies how to do digital marketing, but the franchises and the chains are also learning how to make their pizzas better and more diverse.
Right.
So there's always going to be sort of like, okay, you guys go ahead and show me the prototypes that people want, and then we're going to be able to mass produce them over here. And so where do you see this tug of war kind of going over the next couple of years?
I love that tug of war, because I think it advantages the independent. The reason for that is that the brands want you to buy their brand. But if it comes down to talking specific, if somebody's looking for a gluten-free pizza, 25%, I know that it's vegan. If you're a vegan, 24.6%, according to the survey that we did, or our pizza industry survey from 2018, showed that about a fourth of our readers have a vegan pizza. So PMQ has a website called Vegan Pizza, which we're planning on opening and promoting, along with the pizza industry, we hope, in the coming months or the coming year, so that when consumers are attracted to vegan pizza, they'll go to vegan pizza and then they'll say, oh, well, where do I get one? And then they'll be able to see, oh, these are the local choices that we have. And this same principle can be applied for the independent. When they talk about a specific kind of pizza, or a certain some characteristic of pizza that's really specific, then they become more engaged in the conversation, because if you can change the subject to about pizza rather than the brand, they have the digital information that can bring the pizza customer to their preferred digital entry point. Interesting.
So this is new information for me to hear that 25% of people are really interested in the notion of vegan pizzas, and possibly would you put gluten-free in that same 25% category?
Actually, gluten-free, I think, is a little higher. But it's amazing among independents how responsive they are to the public.
So that's really a growth area opportunity if somebody
it
watching this isn't taking advantage of that,
It
to
is.
know
Right.
that the statistics are telling us take advantage of that trend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The future I see is at some point the food manufacturers like vegan cheese companies are going to be saying, you know what, maybe what we need to do is support a national promotion about vegan pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And what we'll do is we'll have a website like Pizza Vegan where consumers can go there to find out where local vegan choices are that use our cheese. So once we can connect the consumer and the supplier and the food service manufacturer digitally, they're in a digital world, they're very easy to connect, and information can just go wherever you need it to go. So if we get into a digital world, if independents get in the digital world with some unification and some strategies, I believe that independents can be stronger. They can untap huge amounts of energy that exist in the untapped technology and coordination that exists there right now. It's like they have oil in their fields and they haven't pumped it out because they don't see the value of it. But,
right.
But
well,
2 times in my life I've created a 1,000-store pizza charge, and they've been successful both times. And we can do it again. More, and that'll be in your next episode.
That's really interesting. So I guess this falls right into that same trend, is this whole interest in plant-based meats. So
Right.
Even if it's not vegan, it can be vegetarian, or it can be maybe just for people who just for philosophical reasons don't want to eat meat.
Right.
That seems to be a growing trend. Are you seeing a lot of traction in that category? I mean,
I know
hard not to see it, but
right. One of my clients before I started the magazine was Johnny's Pizza out of Louisiana, and they decided there was an author down there that wrote a book about Sugar Busters pizza, and so what they did is they said, well, we don't have any sugar, we don't put any sugar in our recipe, so we're going to call this the Sugar Buster Pizza. In the Monroe, Louisiana, they were selling $10,000 of Sugar Buster Pizza for 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
Under that name. So
yeah.
I know, and then we subsequently did a review. John Carell did it for us. He looked at the New York Times list of bestsellers, and 8 of them were recipes that were diet recipes. And we created 8 pizzas for diets, and we published them, and it's still online somewhere. But the concept is that there's so many ways to sell pizza, and independents can sell them, especially if they unify themselves in various ways.
They can make the quick decisions, unlike a chain that takes, bureaucracy. An independent can go in there and create a pizza and put it on Friday's menu. So.
Well,
so
do you see
advantage?
Do you see the chains then now following suit and saying, okay, now we're going to offer a Sugar Busters, we're going to offer a vegan version? And I mean, it's inevitable that if they see money to be made there, they're going to just be able to roll out a bigger version of it.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Work in the process, they'll create an opportunity for independents to follow. I know that
they do look at each other.
Our staff photographer, David Fisher, was the photographer for Round Table Pizza out in California. And his job for 20 years was to come up with great looking photography for special pizzas, because Round Table would do out of the box, and once a quarter they would promote this. I'm thinking that we could do the same thing for independents. Mm-hmm. If we got together and we said, you know what, let's put together a certain kind of a pizza and promote it, get some sponsors for it. Those are the same people that advertise with us, and I think that's where PMQ is going. We're seeing ourselves as we would like to expand our role in the industry from just showing people how how other people are doing things to let's do some things together, like have another national promotion like we did with the History Channel in 2005.
Mhm.
Let's do a national vegan pizza, or let's do a national gluten-free pizza and have a recipe that we all know about, or people can have their own. The idea, that's what's nice about independence, is you have instantly so many different ideas, and then you have a competition, and the consumer wins. And when the consumer wins, retailers and suppliers win.
Well, before we run out of time, I got a couple more questions, but I know we're going to need to have you guys come back on a regular basis, because this is a great way for, I think, our viewers to hear about some of these trends that are coming. So before we run out of time today, do you have any thoughts about any other trends that are that haven't crashed on the shore yet, that you see maybe a couple of years out that people should be tracking or keeping their eye on in the pizza sector?
I think video, we could go into more detail about those, but video is, for years, video has been important, but that's digital. So that lubricates the sale process when you're able to communicate so much information so quickly. To me, it's mostly the opportunity is, it is digital, but digital is, once we get wired up, then I think the trends are going to be more important. But right now, the biggest opportunity is so obviously getting the business that is being lost to those people that are connected, that we got to all get connected.
Get wired up.
Digitally, get wired up, and then get fired up for some great marketing.
So in other words, assuming that you already have a great product that you're proud of, you need to raise your game in the marketing side, and the area for opportunity is more digital, more videos, take advantage of the digital platforms that are out there, and differentiate yourself and get your name known through those platforms. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, see, the independents collectively could out-innovate any chain. We have the numbers. The independents have the numbers. They have the geniuses. The smartest people in the industry don't come from the Food Network. They come from inside the industry, and we've got them. They're our readers, and we're going to start, instead of just asking them if they want to get our magazine, we're going to ask them if they want to be part of the Pizza Marketing Network.
So let's take advantage of that moment right now. If people are interested, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and let you know? And also, if you're not already a subscriber to PMQ, how do you become one?
Well, I guess wait a week until we get our
but how to subscribe to the magazine?
Yeah. Oh, subscribe to the magazine. Just go to subscribe.pmq.com.
And then from there,
go to our website, pmq.com.
Yeah.
And there'll be a place at the top too.
Right. And from there, pardon me. From there, they'll be hearing about new opportunities as you present them.
Absolutely, yeah. And we'll have that on the website.
Do we have a minute left for me to give you a quick test?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm glad you showed up, because Linda and I have been trying to figure out the most recognizable covers from the last 20 years. So I want to see how quickly you can recognize these people. This is a lightning round. So you have to say what it is, and then we'll go on to the next one.
Okay, I'm going to get close. That looks like pizza dough tossing with the Tony Gemignani.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right.
Don't know that one.
Okay, that's Paul Stanley.
From Kiss.
Yeah, from Kiss.
Yes,
I remember that issue. Okay, now,
I Kiss issue.
Okay.
That is Keste. That's
Roberto Capuscio. Okay, this is a tough one.
Oh, I love that cover. Who is that guy? I was so honored and so proud to have been on one of your covers. That was just like last year, I think. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's one. Well, you'll know this one.
It looks like, is that Nancy Silverton on the right?
Yes, it's Nancy Silverton.
And that's Matt Molina on the left.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
We just interviewed Nancy. She was just on recently. And,
we saw that.
yeah. Oh, good. You saw it. So and that's John Arena, who's one of our, we call him one of our pizza Yodis. We have a panel of Yodas who are now the Yodis, and we bring them on regularly to talk about how to tinker with your dough and how to make tweaks and things like that.
He gave us the best dough recipe that Brian uses in our test kitchen. It's phenomenal.
He will go down in pizza history as one of the most generous, important contributors to the growth of pizza in America.
We were privileged to have him in our test kitchen a few years ago. Yeah, that was back in 2014.
Yeah, someday we'll get Peter Reinhardt in our test kitchen.
I probably would have already been there during this spring, because that was one of my plans, was to get back out, and then of course things change. But when they open back up again, I'd love to come. I've already got an apartment lined up in Oxford. A friend of mine said, anytime you come to Oxford, we've got this little condo. You're welcome to use it. So I'm ready to come. I just need to, get the green light.
That is awesome.
I look forward to that.
We would love to have you down here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Steve and Linda Green, thank you so much for being on Pizza Talk, for sharing all of this knowledge. And for those who are watching, you may want to rewatch these episodes. There were some real key takeaways today that could be difference makers if you're looking for how to grow your own businesses. And even if you're not in the pizza business and you're just a pizza enthusiast, these are universal principles. I think when we talk about marketing, we're talking about something that's universal, and you guys have done a great job of helping to educate, the people in the industry, and also put out a beautiful magazine at the same time.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
For having us.
Appreciate it. And we'll see all of you on the next episode of Pizza Talk. Thanks for joining us, and, continue to enjoy those great pizzas. Thanks.
Bye.